Welcome to our Backyard Brothers podcast. I mean, you guys online watching this don't care, but we're recording on a Monday, um, and we'll be recording in a couple of days as well. And so, two podcasts in 1 week. A lot of sports talking over here. We're also going to have a football minute that's probably going to be longer than normal because we're talking about 2 weeks essentially of football that we haven't talked about since the last time. So we're starting with a football minute today to get that kicked off, knowing that it could be a little bit longer. So again, uh, two or three thoughts from each of us about stuff going on in college football or the NFL that you want to talk about. We don't have to respond to each other unless we really want to. Just some thoughts. And again, like we've done, no particular order. If you have something to say, jump in.
Yeah, I'll start off. A lot of the teams that I expected to be good are kind of falling short of the expectations that I had for college. Definitely a couple in the NFL, but more so in college. And the teams like shout out Utah, like Cody, I'm sure is going to want to talk about, and BYU rather, are excelling way beyond anything we would have like predicted and thought like, hey, this is going to work this way. And that's just really cool that the kind of the underdogs are shaking the league up is the overall point I wanted to make. And that's cool.
Yeah, BYU is for sure. Utah is just hot ass. Just to say it. I don't know how else to say that right now. It's just they're terrible, and they actually fired their offensive coordinator this week. So um, yeah. Anyway, I say that, and
Some
you're
people like hot ass, Cody. I know. Sorry.
yeah. I say that, I'm like, you know what? Some people like that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Garbage, maybe garbage water, anything.
I think the
Anyway, you
term,
guys,
Cody, you're talking about is super ass. That's the word.
Oh, there
That's
you
that's the
go. There
term.
you go.
whatever word you
So,
want to use, you guys
The
know what I'm
gaming
saying.
community speaking through Scott here.
So
Cody, maybe practice your cussing in front of a mirror or something.
That's get a vape pen that you won't use and
Oh,
call
can,
people
can,
the
you, can you
mother
guys tell I
effer.
don't cuss often? Okay, that's good.
Perfectly fine, man.
You
Don't
guys
shame.
know what I'm saying. It's obvious, right? So anyway, it's yeah. Anyway, to go off what you're saying though, Yancey, BYU is they're on a hot streak. You know, they're doing great. They had a close game with Oklahoma State, and Oklahoma State's not good at all. So, you know, that one kind of brings things into question, but they won at the end of the day. You know, that's kind of all that matters is they're 7-0, not 6-1. So, um, but for me, my favorite thing when it comes to just, I mean, college football, but just sports in general is parity. I love it when when the big brands, the ones who are supposed to be winning, are not winning. I love it when there's no undefeated teams. That's what I love it. And right now, the SEC has no undefeated team, and I love that. I absolutely love that Texas got blown out by Georgia. I love that Alabama beat Georgia. I love that Vandy beat Alabama. I just love it all. And now we just need to see who's going to beat Oregon. You know, so we'll see. But I guess Penn State as well since they're undefeated. But I love parity. I love it in college football. It makes it a lot more exciting.
yeah. Uh, Responding real quick to the BYU thing, I'm an alum. I graduated from BYU, uh, and I saw some pretty good teams while I was there and reporting for them and things like that. Um, Obviously, starting 7-0, this is the first time in 20, almost 20, yeah, more than 20 years actually now that BYU has been this good this late in the season, has been undefeated. And no one expected it. Like Yancey said, no one expected BYU to be this good. And you look at the rest of the Big 12, and when we did our predictions, none of us, including the BYU alum here, said BYU is going to be in this kind of position. We all said other teams that are nowhere near. Kansas is horrible. Oklahoma State is horrible. Uh, all these other things. And you look at that conference and the schedule that they have left, and BYU has a good chance of winning that conference outright and getting an automatic berth into the playoff. Like who would have thought? Um, And so it's really cool. Switching my focus over to the NFL real quick, I have a couple of thoughts there. Let me start with the obvious to get the elephant out of the room here. The that Chiefs and 49ers game was awful football. It was just awful. You combine those two quarterback stats. I think they had a completion percentage under 60%, no touchdowns and 5 interceptions combined between Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. The 49ers are, I mean, they're playing with scrubs. You look at their top 6 offensive weapons, 4 of them are out. Like they have George Kittle and that's about it. And so, it's they have a losing record in 7 games. It's going to be tough. They if they get to the playoffs, which is still there, they could be healthy, and at that point, they're a team that no one wants to play in January. But they still have to get there. Meanwhile, and I know Dustin wants to chime in about this one. The Chiefs look like the worst undefeated team I've ever seen in my life. They're horrible on offense. They are just downright awful, and yet you think about it. Hey, they're sick. They're undefeated. They're 6-0. So their defense has been just fantastic, phenomenal, winning those games for them. The last thing I wanted to mention was what's crazy is that the 3 best teams in the entire NFC are in one division. The Lions, Vikings, and Packers are the 3 best teams in the NFC, maybe in the NFL. And so that's crazy that the 3 best teams all come from that same division. And it's fun. It's fun about what's fun about the NFL is we can predict everything, and then we're wrong about everything, and then you just have to ride the storm as it finishes. So.
Yeah. So following that comment, yeah, Scott, you're right. The Chiefs are offensively they look bad. There's been some funny, reels or whatever I've seen about how the commentators just praise Patrick Mahomes endlessly for doing absolute garbage. And it's true this season. He's not playing well enough, throwing picks and not being able to do well in any way, and yet commentators continue to praise him as the greatest quarterback of this generation, which isn't saying that isn't true, but in this season it's particularly not true. But the Chiefs are winning based on defense. And I've said it before, I think, on this podcast, that no matter who they play each week, they just barely beat them. They're only barely better than whoever they're playing. Whether it's a bad team or a good team, they're just barely better. So they're really playing down to the competition. But it could get them to the Super Bowl again, and that's what we all care about. So that's what we all want right here.
Yeah, 2 last things I thought of, and then I'll let anyone else speak. Patrick Mahomes in the season so far, 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That's what he's doing so far. He has a similar quarterback rating to Deshaun Watson.
Well, that'll improve because Deshaun's gone for the rest of the season, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Hopefully it improves.
And that's the best thing that could have happened to the Browns.
Yeah,
quite possible.
I guess a couple other comments. It's interesting to see some of the teams that are doing really well. I'm sad that the Dolphins have struggled so much, and I don't think it's not just injury related. Of course, they had their starting quarterback was Jim Moyle, who I thought last started in the 60s for the Baltimore Colts, but anyway, he played.
Boyle.
Yeah, Boyle.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'd never heard of that guy because they don't have anybody left.
Yeah. I was going to check in. We said we would check in about that. Yancey, your Colts did beat those Dolphins. So,
Called it.
And Cody, you were dead wrong. So, about the Dolphins winning 2 of those 3 games. In fact, they lost 2 of those 3 games.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
And
last
go ahead,
comment:
Mr.
college football. Indiana Hoosiers are also.
I know 7-0, man.
That's crazy.
So and college game day is going to Bloomington.
Right.
That's crazy, right? But it is interesting. Their schedule, I think, is Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. Is how they're going to finish out. Some of those teams aren't as strong as they normally are, but if Indiana can get out of this last stretch only losing, say, 1 game, then they should probably be the ACC.
Big 12, Big 10.
Yeah, Big 10.
Yeah, I think just on that real quick, I think that they will be favored to win all of those games except for Ohio State. I think they're going to be favored to win up till Ohio State, and honestly, I'm curious to see what they do. Is it going to be a normal blowout at Ohio State? Probably, but is there any chance that it's not? And how close is it? I did see that their quarterback is out. I think for it said indefinitely for now, so I don't know how much that's going to affect it, but. Yeah, it's definitely weird to see that. My last sentence before we can move on, if we want, was you mentioned the three best teams in the NFL, Scott, all being in that one division, and pointing out that the last team in the division isn't too bad either right now. Chicago Bears 4-2.
Yeah, right.
So it's a
The
pretty
best division in football, and it's not close. Yeah.
it's exactly so.
Yeah. Okay. Next topic, real quick. Checking in on the MLB playoffs. Technically, on Thursday, what we're going to talk about is a little bit of a World Series preview because that's what we've got. And Yancey, you come out looking like a shining rose because who we got but the Dodgers and Yankees in the World Series, like everyone should have predicted, right? Because the two best teams in baseball, and they're playing for the World Series. So, um, yeah. Any thoughts about those baseball playoffs?
If you know, you know. The chalk is the chalk for a reason. I think a partial lucky guess, but the Yankees were really good this year, and so were the Dodgers. I think it'll be a good series.
Yeah, the Yankees just easily worked their way to the. I think they lost one game the whole playoff so far, and so they beat the. Who was it? They
Met.
the no, not the Mets. The other one. Guardians, Cleveland Guardians. They beat Cleveland in 5 games. The Dodgers beat the Mets in 6. It took them 6, but they still got it done. So we'll be talking a little bit more in depth about the World Series, which starts Friday. So
How's Aaron Judge so far in those 5
uh,
games?
I need to look that up. I'm not sure. I'm assuming he's okay.
I saw him hit like a 2-run homer.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess we'll look at that. Here we go. Pulling it up. His last couple of games, his last 5 games, he's hit 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, couple of hits, few more runs, batting average of 322. So not bad at all.
Sweet. Yeah, I was curious to see if that performance would carry over in the PTI question. So that's pretty cool that he's done well.
He must have heard.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, we're gonna finish our NBA preview. So we're spending probably close to the next hour talking about basketball. So I'm gonna share my screen, and you guys tell me if and when you see the Boston Celtics here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, talking about the Atlantic Division first. We've done half the NBA. We're doing the other half here real quick. So obviously the Celtics were the best team in the NBA last year, and they proved it. They ended up losing 3 games in the entire playoffs, 16-3 in the playoffs. That's just complete domination. First in offense, just everything. They won the NBA Finals. They were the best team. There was I mean, it wasn't close. They were the best team. They were on another level than every other team in the NBA. And they keep everybody. Their entire starting 5 returns intact. Jaylen Brown, who was the NBA Finals MVP, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. They bring over Lonnie Walker from the Nets. He's a good athletic player that they're bringing over, and they drafted 2 guys: Baylor Shireman out of Creighton, a good shooter, 19 points, 9 rebounds. He won the A10 Player of the Year. They drafted him in the first round, and Anton Watson out of Gonzaga. And the coaching staff remains the same as well, with Joe Mazzulla now in his 3rd year. So, talk about the Celtics. Have no idea where we left off. So, Dustin, lead us away.
Yeah, I think it's easy to say they're the favorites to repeat. to be back in the finals pending no injuries. But yeah, don't think of this as the birth of a dynasty, because this team has been in the Eastern Conference Finals something like 4 out of the last 6 years, and been in the finals quite a bit, and so this is finally the culmination of the dynasty happened with their championship. And I think that with all the youth and all the leadership that they have here, this is a dynasty that can continue for years and years to come. And there's going to be banner 19, I think, has a good chance of being raised in June.
Yeah, I have nothing to say that can't be true. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still 25 or younger. They're really young. This is a young basketball team that's as talented as they are. They're really good defensively. They're really good offensively. There's literally no weakness on this team. So, I mean, yeah, they're the champs, and you have to really work hard to dethrone them. Yancey?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think the fact that Jason Tatum didn't get the Finals MVP, even though his performance was up there, but Brown was played well too. I think that will really light a fire under that tandem, and they'll play extremely well. There's not a lot of comments that I would make that would differ from what Dustin believes. I think this is a really good team that will have continued success. Barring injuries, as long as they stay healthy, I think this is a really good team.
Yeah. Cody, anything?
I just think it's almost unfair how stacked the team is. It's like, I mean, for me, this may not be a good example at all, but for me, it makes me think of the Warriors, Golden State Warriors, about 10 years ago or something. I think it was, where they were just winning, it seems like, every single championship. It's just almost unfair, and part of me is just like, there needs to be some kind of regulation on that, but there's not. Second thing is, Derek White's eyes kind of freak me out. I'm not sure why, but they really do. Like the way he's smiling.
You should
I
see
think-
it.
I think it might be the picture too, but yeah, his eyes are kind of weird. Yeah.
He definitely looks like he just got electrocuted in that photo.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm all right.
You guys know those little worm things in Men in Black?
Yeah.
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 Okay, I can see it.
Everyone's drinking coffee.
Yeah. Okay, Brooklyn Nets. They were not good. 32 and 50 on the year, 25th in points, 23rd offense, 20th in defense. And unfortunately, everyone returns on that starting lineup. Dennis Schroeder came over about halfway through the season, and he ended up being probably the best player on the team. Cam Thomas, though, was really good throughout the year, and he's going to end up starting for multiple years. Nick Claxton's a good defender, but that's kind of about it. They bring in over Bojan Bogdanovic, a really good three-point shooter, and Shake Milton from the Knicks, although 1.8 points. He's a better player than that. And they bring over Killian Hayes from the Pistons, a pretty good player, but hasn't lived up to his 5th overall pick draft status. No rookies, because they traded them all away, if you all remember. So no draft picks for this team. But a brand new coach in Jordi Fernandez, who was the Kings assistant coach the last couple of years. And Juwan Howard comes over from Michigan, where he was the head coach for the last 6 years. Now assistant coach over here. So my turn first. Seeing these two right back to back, the Celtics and the Nets, you see, I mean, not every pair of teams is going to be that much of a difference, but there's a huge difference in talent between the Nets and the Celtics. And unfortunately, the Nets are going to bear the brunt of that for a lot of the year. I'm not sure they're going to fight with the Raptors for last in this division. So, Yancey?
Yeah, I think you're right there. I would say Bogdanovich doesn't really have a lot of tread left on the tires, as far as I'm concerned. He doesn't have too much longer left in the league, in my opinion. And their starting 5 is nothing to call home about, other than Cam Thomas, who has, I mean, basically average numbers, right? Like, you would want that out of your starter. If Cameron Johnson plays better, gets maybe 7 more points, they could do something. But I don't see a lot of success here either. And I don't know what else I could say that would be original other than yikes, that's gonna suck coming up.
Cody, anything?
Yeah, I think I just pulling off the same idea of that the starting five is nothing to write home about. The only thing I see here is with Cam Thomas, the 22.5 per game is the only really okay number that I see. Other than that, I don't know any of these names, and so if I don't know any of them, then for sure there's no star because I know a few stars. That's kind of it. So
I don't know what you guys are talking about. They have one of the highest paid players in the whole league on their team. And he gives some of the best high fives you've ever seen. So watch out for that. We're talking about Ben Simmons. He's getting paid about $40 million a year
This guy right here.
to give high fives.
Yeah.
This is just an interesting team. You got to put this in a textbook of when you sell the future at the expense of the present, like they did, and then you can't convince anybody to come play for your team. I mean, this team essentially has the same salary, the same budget as the Boston Celtics. There's a salary cap. Teams are regulated, for market things like that, and so it's just different. So 25-30 wins max for this team.
Yeah. New York Knicks. This is going to be fun. Talk about this team. So they were really good in both. What they were doing, they were second in points per game allowed. Really good defensive team last year. And look at these additions to the starting lineup. Karl Anthony Towns, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, brought over in the trade late in the preseason from the Minnesota Timberwolves to beef up that interior, to give them an interior presence. So that's a big addition there, along with Mikal Bridges from the Nets, who we just talked about, leaving a garbage team to join a team that has a chance to compete with the Celtics in this case, along with Jalen Brunson, who was just phenomenal in the playoffs last year, if you all remember that. So you have your Villanova 3 here. You traded away the 4th to get Karl Anthony Towns. Otherwise, you would have had 4 Villanova guys. But joining OG Anunoby and Josh Hart, this is a really good starting 5. And then you can continue to add a bunch of players. Marcus Morris near the end of his career, Chumo Kiki, and then first round pick, I don't know how to say that name, Pacome Dajier, I think. Cameron Payne is really good. A lot of other rookies, adding a lot to that team to try to get it better. And Tom Thibodeau, still there, his 5th year. Maurice Cheeks joins him on the bench. Okay, Yancey, Knicks.
So I kind of like their chances overall, but I think that Karl Anthony Towns' talent showed out a lot more because of the team he was on. And he was surrounded by a higher level of talent, in my opinion, on that team. But we'll have to see if I'm wrong about that. But I like this team's chance of success. I think that they kind of average out about the same as they did last year, though. So about 50 wins-ish, 50, 55.
Cody, anything about the Knicks?
Well, it looks like they got 3 Villanova players. So if that says anything just about Villanova right there. I guess my first thought is there any relation between Jalen Brunson and the coach, Rick Brunson?
Father,
Yes.
son. Yeah.
Is there really? Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's live and well.
What's that?
Nepotism, live and well. Mhm.
Yeah, dad's side. The dad's there because the son's so good.
Yeah.
Other than that, almost 29 points a game is awesome. That's what you're looking for from a starter. And so that's awesome from him. I know the names: Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson. So they're doing something right out there in New York. So it looks like a good team.
Yeah. To continue on the comment about Big Cat, Karl Anthony Towns, I think he did a really good job, kind of interesting, about getting out of the way in Minnesota to allow Anthony Edwards to shine. And I think he may have got himself out of the way a little too much, that he got himself traded, but he he really helped that team succeed by not trying to be the big star whenever Edwards had stepped up. And so I'm interested to see if he can figure this out on the Knicks with Jalen Brunson, Michael Bridges, all of them here, to be able to do something similar, but still be able to get in that 20 to 25 range and just understand that balance. I think that they can, and I think the Knicks are a top 4 team.
I would mostly agree with Dustin. I think, yeah, Carl Anthony Towns here has the ability to do the exact same thing. I was thinking the same thing you were, Dustin. Get out of the way and let Jalen Brunson be the star of this team. And then you get to pull guys out of the paint. That was a problem last year, that Jalen Brunson had to go against big guys because Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein was sometimes down there too. Carl Anthony Towns can play on the perimeter, and he's an excellent 3-point shooter. And so this opens up the floor for Brunson to play everywhere. And so I kind of like that addition. And Mikal Bridges is a 20-point per game scorer too. So I think this is a good team, and I like their chances. Philly. They were middle of the pack in a lot of categories, but mostly because Joel Embiid was hurt for a lot of the year. You can see when he was healthy, he dominated 35 points, 11 rebounds a game. If he can stay healthy the entire year, that's a different team than what we saw most of last year, along with Tyrese Maxey, who was another all-star and scored a bunch of points while Embiid was out of the way. And look who they bring over here. PG-13 himself, Paul George, to join from the Clippers, along with Eric Gordon from the Suns, who's somehow still playing in the NBA. And over here, Andre Drummond, Caleb Martin, Reggie Jackson. Those are impactful depth players coming over there. And they draft Jared McCain out of Duke as well. Kyle Lowry's still on that team. Kelly Oubre there, and Nick Nurse in his second season. So over to you, Cody, if you have anything to say about the Sixers.
I guess first off, I feel like Paul George has been playing for like 30 years. How old is he now?
He's in his 30s. Yeah.
Yes, I feel like he's been
He's
here.
35, maybe.
He's probably been in the league 17 years or something. So, yeah, he's probably 35, 37, something like that.
Yeah, I feel like I've been hearing his name for forever. I guess I have been. So, other than that, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. I can see Tyrese Maxey. I don't really know the name, but I see that he's obviously a good shooter and gets a lot of points per game. But everyone knows who Joel Embiid is. As long as he's healthy, then they've got a good team. Paul George seems to be like immortal. He's always going just like he was 10 years ago. So that's all I got to say, I think, for now.
Dustin.
When I first saw this trade with Paul George, I was pretty skeptical. I was like, Joel Embiid is an interesting player that he can play anywhere on the court, and he's a ball dominant 7-footer, and it's really interesting. And I didn't see how Paul George could fit into that. And so I think that Nick Nurse, however, is the right coach to try to figure this out. And he's obviously able to figure it out last year with how well Maxey was able to fit in. And so I do trust the process, if you will, to figure this lineup out in order for it to be successful and be another top 4 team.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Paul George, he's been able to play most of his career in a what do you call it, kind of subservient role to a bigger star in a lot of his later part of his career. Obviously, he was the big guy in Indiana when he was there, but ever since then, he's been a second fiddle to someone else, and so he knows how to do this. And I like that part of it. I could see this team figuring it out after the All-Star break. They go 25 and 15 for the first 40 games and then figure it out. And so I think they're dangerous, but maybe not quite to the Celtics level.
Yeah, I think it's a good team and they have a good core, but I'm worried about keeping Joel Embiid healthy because it's been such a problem in years past. And without him, this is not like a really good team, or at least they've struggled before. I do like the addition of Paul George, but I don't know that it's really enough because in my mind, I'm not expecting this team to really move forward with Joel Embiid. since he kind of consistently gets injured. So beyond that, I think it is a good team if Joel Embiid stays healthy. If not, they're in jeopardy. But I do like their depth
Yep.
with Drummond and whatnot.
Last team in the Atlantic Division, the bad Toronto Raptors. They sold everything last year, and so you look at their lineup. This is kind of what they had at the end of the year. So really not changing what they have from the end of last year, except for the promotion, if you would say, of Grady Dick into the shooting guard role there. Scotty Barnes is by far the best player on that roster. He is a star. He's a superstar there, but very little else. Emmanuel quickly looks good, but it's just because he has to step up into a scoring role, and that's really not his game. Uh, Davion Mitchell comes over from the Kings. I love Jamal Shed. I loved him at Houston. He was a 5-year player there, 3-time captain. He's just an all-around good basketball player, and so he was one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball. So I like that addition there. Everything else stays about the same. So over to Dustin, Raptors.
Yeah, it's interesting comparing this team to the Nets, where you can look at their roster and again, it's pretty similar caliber of talent. It doesn't look great, but I feel much more positive for the Raptors than I would for the Nets, especially with the athleticism that they have here with Quickly, Barnes, Barrett, and then with the depth that they have. So I feel positive. But I mean, again, I don't think this is a playoff team, but I think that they're right on the cusp of a play-in team.
I'm not sure I'm quite as high on them. Like I said, I love Jamal Shed. I'm not sure how much he's going to play, but I just, other than Scotty Barnes, I struggle to see where a lot of the scoring is going to come from the Raptors. He can facilitate really well, and so hopefully he can get Barrett and Quickly going a little bit better. I just, especially in this division where you have to play the Celtics and the Knicks and the 76ers a whole bunch. That's just a lot of losses that pile up just with those 3 teams. Yancey.
I think I agree with you, Scott, on the fact that the teams that they play are going to be, a little too much firepower for them. And no one on this team really averages over 20 enough to put them over that hump. Barnes has shown that he's good, but it's not going to be enough, in my opinion. And I see them struggling and continuing to struggle until they get the pieces in place that can really show out as stars and get them the points they need.
Cody, anything?
I think my only thought really is, from what you're saying, Scotty Barnes is kind of the star of the team, and if your star is only scoring 20 points a game, you've got a problem. And so that's the way I see it.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna go all the way down here, find the Atlantic Division. Let's just do it the way that we just did. Dustin, how's your 5 lineup?
Celtics, Knicks, 76ers, and Raptors, Nets.
Okay. Call me derivative, but that I can't. I don't see any other way. That's my exact order.
Yeah,
Nancy?
we're not changing anything. We all think
That's
the
good.
same, I guess.
Cody, are you going to be different for the sake of being different, or do you?
I'm going to be different. I'm going to be different. You can
Okay.
keep the bottom 3 the same, but I'm going to say Knicks first, Celtics second. Because why not?
Okay. All right. Let's go find the Dallas Mavericks, I believe. Going to the Southwest Division. The Mavericks obviously surprised a lot of people. They got all the way to the NBA Finals before losing to the Celtics in 5 games. Really good offensive team. We all questioned how this dynamic would work with Kyrie and Luka. It worked pretty well last year. Luka obviously is a is a fantastic, phenomenal basketball player, and Kyrie really stepped up late in the season in the playoffs to playing really, really good basketball too. But this guy over here might add some stuff. Klay Thompson coming over from the Warriors to join the Mavericks. He's near the end of his career, but if he's still out shooting 41% from three, give him the ball, let him shoot away. And another thing to mention is these two guys were excellent defensively, and that was where they hung their hat in a lot of those playoff rounds, was that interior defense with Washington and Gafford. Not a whole lot to talk about depth-wise. Spencer Dinwiddie is brought over. Everything else kind of stays the same. And they drafted Melvin Aginsa from France. Jason Kidd in his 4th season. So I think it's over to me. I like the addition of Klay Thompson. I wonder if, and hope for his sake, that this change of scenery will enliven him, will make him really add a pep to his step, because it seems, especially since his injury a few years ago, he just didn't seem to have the same kind of impact in Golden State that he had earlier in his career. And I hope that this will give him that kind of opportunity to restart his career and have more zest for that. If they have that big three working on offense, this is a really dangerous team. Obviously, they're defending Western Conference champions, and Thompson, in theory, only makes them better. So, Yancey?
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know how high up I am on Klay Thompson and how his success will translate over to this new team. I'd like to think he's a good player, and he has had tons of success, done tremendous things. I think, didn't he have some crazy amount of points in some short amount of time? Dustin would know.
Yeah.
And so I think I'm right along the same line of thinking that you are, Scott, that this is a good team, a dangerous team, and adding Klay Thompson is a good thing, and we should see them do well. But I'd like to see the first couple of games to see how Klay Thompson meshes with the rest of this team.
Cody, anything about Dallas?
I mean, my first thought, maybe more of a question, is how old is Luka? Is he still under 30?
I think he's 24 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, he's under 25 then, even. Okay. Kyrie Irving, though, and Klay Thompson are both over 30 at this point, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my first thought was that this team looked like they averaged to be over 30 years old, but Luka being 24, they're still a pretty young team. So, I mean, Luka Doncic is easily one of the best players in the league, if not the best. Did he win MVP again last year?
No, Nikola Jokic won the 3rd out of 4.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I get those two mixed up a lot. I don't know if there's anything really for me to say other than Klay Thompson's a good player. Kyrie Irving is as well. Luka Doncic's amazing. So it should be a good team.
And to answer the question, Luka will turn 26 in February. So.
Yeah. To make a comment on age, the age seems to be affecting Klay Thompson. Kyrie Irving's playing the best basketball of his career. You know, him in his early 30s. You know, I think he was, almost had the 50-40-90. I don't remember if he did or not. Very close to 50-40-90 last year. Fantastic basketball. Best basketball for sure. Last year, what the Mavericks were able to do, in order to get themselves into the finals was incredible. And a lot of it was based on just they shot from 3 above their average. And then they were able to, specifically in like beating the Thunder, able to get to the rim a lot, get lots of lobs and all this. They played fantastic. Getting Klay Thompson there as that 3-point shooter will help them boost that up even more. But at the same time, it takes a lot of luck and a lot of stars to align in order to get yourself to the finals. I don't see them being the repeat finals contender, but definitely a strong playoff team.
For those who don't know what a 50-40-90 is, it's 50% shooting from the field overall, 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. Having those over the course of a season, how many people have done that? Like 8, maybe?
I think 13 or something.
13. Okay. So
over the course of the last 60 years.
And I just looked it up. So Kyrie obviously 41.1 from three, 90.5 from the line. He was 49.7 from field goal. And so 0.3 off from hitting that mark that very few players in NBA history have hit. So, yeah.
And I think there's only been one player to do a 50, 40, 90 who is not a Hall of Famer. That kind of stat.
And by the way, Klay Thompson has done that once or twice in his career too, a 50, 40, 90 performance. So
has he?
He had one season. Yeah, of a 50, 40, 90. Mm-hmm. Okay. On to the Houston Rockets. They were right at 500 last year, 41-41, really good defensively, best in 3-point percentage allowed. So really good perimeter defense. And I just loved their team last year, even though I talked about it at the end of last year that even though they didn't make the playoffs, this was a success last year, getting the Rockets from as the bottom of the barrel to where they were last year. Fred VanVleet was excellent. Alperen Şengün was probably the best player on that team. A lot of guys you don't hear about that were really, really good. Bringing Reed Shepherd in from Kentucky as well, and Ime Udoka in his second season. Underrated coach, obviously coached the Celtics for a few years. So, yeah. Over to Yancey about the Houston Rockets.
I don't think we share the same hope of success for the Rockets. I don't see much here. VanVleet was average. I don't think that's incredible. Şengün was good. He's performing what you need. And Green, so they do have three that are getting around what you need. But I don't see this team coming together to get over 500, really. I think that they'll end up losing more than they win.
Buddy, anything about Houston?
I mean, how hard is it to get drafted out of high school? It's just amazing that Jalen Green can do like that. That just doesn't sound like something that happens very often. And when it does, it's just you've got to be. I mean, you've got to be better than 20 points a game, right? I don't know. I just think that that's amazing that happens that often in basketball.
I think a lot of them go through the G League first now, but I'm not sure if that was the case for Jalen Green or not.
Okay, I keep forgetting that that's the thing. I'm imagining these are, 18-year-olds right after their birthday playing with LeBron kind of thing. I'm like, that's just insane. So other than that, Dylan Brooks looks like a mugshot there. That's it.
You don't know how close to accurate that would be.
Yeah.
That man mugs people on the court. Yeah, and just to answer the question, educational, there's a lot of avenues to the NBA outside of college. In fact, college is becoming less and less popular avenue to the NBA. It's G League, playing overseas, or other leagues such as Overtime Elite are becoming much more popular than playing in college. And so coming out of high school, yes, he came out of high school, but he played in several other professional leagues, I think, before coming over to the league. Anyway, to comment on the Rockets, Scott, I think that your optimism that you initially said, I think, is a reflection of this team's attitude and not so much of their aptitude. And so I would go with that.
That's probably a really good. They definitely need one more star on this team to kind of help bridge that gap. I'm not saying I expect this team to win 50 games. I'm saying I expect this team to be number 10 and get into the play-in. So, like lose a game in the play-in, and we're talking very small stones of success getting to where they need to go, but they're not there yet. But I think they're building. Okay, Memphis Grizzlies. They were awful last year. Worst offense in the NBA. Worst shooting team in the NBA. Pretty good on defense, but that was because all of their guys got hurt. Every single one of them. In fact, you look at this. Well, obviously you have Zach Edey. If you guys remember the giant from Purdue, the 7'4" guy drafted in the first round from, and so he'll start immediately. There's a lot we could talk about there. We've already talked about, does Zach Edey's game transition to the NBA? We're going to see about it soon here. But Ja Morant was hurt. Marcus Smart was hurt. Jaren Jackson was hurt for part of the year. Desmond Bane was really the only guy that was healthy the whole year. And so you can't really compare last year with maybe this year, because how good this team, these players are, and this team was 2 years ago. This team could be a really good team in the NBA. So don't think that one necessarily transfers over to the other. That's my one caution for those of you. They also, Armando Bacot was a great player at North Carolina, somehow went undrafted and picked up by the Grizzlies. Cam Spencer won a title with UConn, drafted there as well. Taylor Jenkins still in his 6th season over there. So, Cody, Memphis Grizzlies.
I don't know if I have a lot, honestly, about Memphis. I mean, I do see that they're really good scorers. There's 3 of them averaging, I guess 4 of them averaging over 20 points a game. That's really good. Zach Edey is just a freak of nature, just at height alone. What is that? Only like 3 inches shorter than Yao Ming or something, right? Like Yao Ming around there, 7'5" or something like that, 7'6".
7'5", yeah.
Okay, so right around Yao Ming. That's crazy. Other than that, I don't know if I have anything. I think from what I've seen and heard, John Morant seemed to be handling himself better, so that's good.
I'm a little concerned about Ja Morant's injuries, if that's affected his athleticism. We've talked about Derrick Rose in the past and how his injuries really affected his athleticism, and so we'll be able to see how he can come back from that and still be as effective as he was post-injury. Hopefully he can, because he's one of the most electric players in the league. I think that Zach Edey's, in order to avoid injury, he's just got to keep his head on a swivel for Ja Morant to try to jump over him if he doesn't get out of the way fast enough, because he's slow. That's what we've done. I think to see how this is going to work out with Edey being in a team that's built on speed. Apart from that, I do expect to bounce back. Somewhere in that 6 to 8 seed, maybe.
Probably where I have them too. This is a much better team than one that won 27 games last year. So don't compare the two. I think this team is really good. However, I don't think Zach Edey fits in with this team. I think that's a problem. They drafted him because he was the best player available and didn't look at fit, because he's going to clog the paint for Ja Morant, and that's Ja Morant's best ability, is to get to the paint. And so I don't like his fit with that team. I think the Grizzlies should have gone a different direction, but I don't know what, honestly. So can't see.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that I could add that would differ. I think I agree with the point that they kind of just took Edey because he was the best of what was available. Edey, Smart, and Morant are talented, but I think I agree with the fact that the things they do well are going to end up clashing with each other, so we might not see a very good team. I don't think it'll live up to its potential, but I do think they'll do better than last year, along with Dustin. That's all I would really say about it.
Yeah. On to the New Orleans Pelicans. They won 49 games last year, lost a play-in game, and then won a play-in game. And everyone was excited about Zion Williamson staying so healthy through the entire year, and he gets hurt in that first play-in game to the Lakers. And so he's still technically on the physically unable to perform list. Don't know exactly when he'll be back, but obviously he is the key for that team to go. They did bring over DeJounte Murray, who was the best player for the Hawks, and that really helps them, along with CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. Although we talked about it, when Zion Williamson left, these two stopped playing well, Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, and so obviously Zion holds them together. But if they're all healthy, this starting 5 is dangerous. That's a really good starting 5. Javonte Green comes over from the Bulls. Daniel Tice a couple of rookies from Kentucky and other places. Jose Alvarado is a fun player to watch on defense. He's a gnat, if you could use it that term. And Willie Green in his fourth year. So over to Dustin.
Yeah, like you said, this starting five, this team, it's all revolves around Zion, and he's the glue. If he can play 60 to 70 games, this is a team that I don't know if they have a ceiling. You know, it's the kind of team that can get West, but it's all around health specifically for number one there. And if they can stay healthy, get healthy, and have the starting five on the court all the time, sky's the limit.
Yeah. No, I mostly agree with that. I'm not sure about the best team in the NBA. I hesitate to say that, but adding DeJounte Murray is a huge deal. The guy's great on offense. The guy's great on defense. He's everything. Hoping to bridge that gap between them and the other teams there. But yeah, if they're all healthy, this team wins this division. I will say that. And they're a high seed in the Western Conference. So, Nancy.
I think for the most part, the only puzzle piece I would want to swap out would be Jones. 11 points, 2 assists is not enough for me. And I don't see the rebounding numbers there enough to justify him being a starter, even really, in my opinion. So I'd agree with you guys saying that this is a contender team, if not for Jones. If they can find somebody to just get 15, even if the rest of these guys keep their numbers up, and if Williamson stays healthy, I agree that this is a contender team. But if I'm making a prediction right now, I'm going to say that Williamson does not stay healthy. This team falls apart, and they do just as bad as last year.
And the one you're going to say it. I know you were going to say it, Dustin. Go ahead.
Yeah, Herbert Jones, he's a spark plug. I know this is not a fair comparison, but he's the Dennis Rodman of this team. He's a spark plug. It's not a fair comparison yet, but he's fantastic. Defender, rebounder. He shuts down the opposing team. He deserves to be a starter, and he's one of the best players here.
I got you. So he has his role. I just didn't see it in the numbers, is what you're saying.
Yeah. He's not a scorer. He's an annoyer.
No, I got you. Thanks for pointing that out.
Cody, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you not see me?
You're frozen with your hand in front of your mouth. It's kind of hilarious looking. Your hand's like blurry a little.
Weird. Okay, well, let me know when you can see me again, I guess. Hopefully I can explain this in a way that makes sense. But my opinion, anytime that a team relies on one player so much that basically the whole team falls apart when they're not there anymore, that it's not a good recipe for success. It needs to be all five, at least four, if not all five. And so relying, with the whole idea that this team's going to fall apart without Zion, or that it does, to me that says that this is not going to be a team that can go all the way deep in the playoffs.
That's fair.
That's good comments. Yeah. Okay, San Antonio Spurs. 22 wins last year. Bad on offense, bad on defense, bad all around. But Victor Wembanyama, he deserved every bit of the praise that went his way. And all of us were like, this guy's going to suck in the NBA. He's not big enough. You know what? We should all shut the hell up. Because Victor Wembanyama was excellent. Rookie of the year, 21 points, 11 rebounds, 4 blocks a game. The guy was fantastic. And they're making a lot of changes to bring people over. Harrison Barnes, a veteran, comes over from North Carolina. They draft Stephon Castle in top 5 out of UConn, the best player there that won a championship. Chris Paul comes over to lend that veteran leadership, trying to get Greg Popovich relevant one more time. A few more additions in the back end here as well. Harrison Ingram, rookie from North Carolina. Greg Popovich, this is his 28th season for the Spurs. He's been there forever. And can he get this team relevant again? And I guess it's over to me first. I think this is better than 22 wins, but I'm not sure it's good enough still to break into the top 10. You added two good veterans who were all-star caliber players 5 years ago. And Chris Paul is still good, but he's older. He's not quite. He's going to be a great team leader, a great presence in that locker room. I unfortunately don't see a whole lot else. Victor though is great. So
Yeah, Wembanyama definitely lived up to the hype. He surpassed the expectations I had for him. I thought people were going to be able to kind of push him around, and boy, was I wrong about that. But I think to what Cody was saying earlier, it takes more than one guy. You know what I mean, for a team to have success. And I don't think Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes are going to be enough to really help Wembanyama out. But I do think this is a good team in 4 years. But right now, there's still some pieces missing.
Cody, anything about San Antonio? And we can see you now.
Okay, good. I mean, I think I'm more going towards the head coach route with George Popovich. I mean, he's been there for 28 years. I saw that he has 5 championships, so he's obviously a great coach. But when's the last time they were relevant? When's the last time they won? I mean, it's been a while now. When does it come to the point where the managers or the owners say, "Thank you for your service, but we're done. We're moving on"?
So I don't know if you all see, but they won a championship in 2014. That was their last time that they won 10 years ago. Greg Popovich is the guy that if he wants to die coaching on the court, the Spurs are going to let him. So
Yeah,
he's earned that.
they're probably last extremely relevant in like 2017 when Kawhi Leonard was the best player in the NBA on that team. And then he went to the Raptors and won a championship there. And so 2017 was probably the last season where they were really, really, really good. It's been downhill since then. But Coach Pop, he can go whenever he wants to go, and they'll parade him out because he's brought them 5 championships.
And I guess my last thought then is if that's the case, then they shouldn't expect. How do I explain this? If it's been this way for 10 years, they shouldn't be expected to be relevant in the next 2. You see what I'm saying? Like they can keep them there as long as they want, but I don't think the manager should be expecting relevancy or even a championship anytime soon.
I don't think that's the expectation. I think that the expectation is to be a playoff contender again. And I think that this gets them closer. Not quite there yet, but you have a generational talent. And what Wemby proved is that he could be a generational talent. The kind of generational talent so Spurs have had 3 number 1 draft picks in history, and so far Wemby's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's not quite the other 2, but he's pretty good, close to the other 2. Those being Robinson and Duncan. And so they're really trying to build around their number 1 draft pick, and build a future around him. So I'm happy with first direction.
Yep. Did I start? I think I did. Yeah. Okay. So let's that's the last one. So let's pick this division first. Over to me, I guess. I kind of played my hand when I said if they're all healthy, and I can't really predict otherwise at this point, but I'm predicting the New Orleans to win that division and Dallas to be right behind. Memphis, Houston, San Antonio. Yancey?
I'm going to go Mavericks, Pelicans, Grizzlies, Spurs, Rockets.
Cody?
I'm going to go Mavs, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Rockets, Spurs.
And Dustin?
I think we have all different. I'm gonna go Pelicans, Mavericks, Grizzlies, Spurs, Rockets.
Interesting.
Right. Up to the last division, the Central Division, starting with the Chicago Bulls. They won less than they lost one lot. Wow, how do I say that? They won less than they lost. Wow, and they were kind of middle of the pack last year. They didn't get any better because they lost DeMar DeRozan. They do bring Josh Giddey over from the Thunder, but it's weird where he fits because he's certainly not a power forward. But it's going to be a weird positionless lineup here with Zach LaVine hopefully back completely free of injury. Kobe White proved enough. Lonzo Ball is now healthy, and so he may fill that role here. Right now, he's starting on the bench somewhere. Where did he go? I may not have put him in because there he is. Okay, yeah, Lonzo Ball is healthy. He's playing. And so he could be right here, but Kobe White played really good last year. It's just a tough with losing your best player last year, DeMar DeRozan to the Kings. So Billy Donovan brought over Wes Unseld, who was fired from the Wizards last year, to be an assistant coach. So over to Yancey about the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, I like the Bulls, but talk trash about Giddy every time I see him. I don't see a whole lot of upsides on this team. I don't even unless their stars are healthy. This team is not good. And even with if you put Ball on the court, I still don't see enough improvement to bring this team up to contendership, is how I would say. And I think that we'll continue to see them lose more games than they win. And that's a super weird choice to put Giddey at power forward.
It's probably more positionless than anything, but
Right.
Cody?
I think my thoughts here, I mean, pointing out first off that none of these guys are scoring more than 20 points a game, which is an issue. But that also shows a little bit of like consistency as well, in that they're probably passing the ball around a lot. They're not doing that whole. They're not doing what the Pelicans are doing, where it's everything is on this one player kind of idea. But they also don't have anyone who's a star. It seems like, and so. I think that they're going to be consistently mediocre this year.
Dustin?
Yeah, it is interesting that like a 4-guard lineup, but I think that that's kind of where the NBA is trending more as positionless basketball. The 4-guard, I think, is a step towards that potential future. So they lost DeRozan. They also lost Caruso, who I thought was their big spark plug. And so, yeah, I'm not seeing an increase in wins here.
Yeah. And we talked about it when the trade happened, but we all felt that the Thunder easily won that trade, getting Caruso for Giddey. And so, yeah, the Bulls got 2 players worse, and you put Lonzo on the court, it doesn't change anything. I don't know if you can play Ball and White at the same time. They play the same kind of position, and so you just switch out one for the other. And I just don't like the lineup that they have here. And with the increase in the improvement of the other teams in this division, I worry that the Bulls have a potential of finishing last in this division. So, other than the Pistons, I guess, which we'll talk about in a second. So, Cleveland Cavs. I think, yeah, okay. Cleveland Cavs. They won the first round series against the Magic in 7 hard-fought games, and then got shown the exit pretty quickly by the Celtics in the semifinals. Donovan Mitchell re-signed with the team. That was something that they were worried about, but he did re-sign. He's still there. He's easily the best player on the team. That same starting 5 comes back, so that's big for them, especially defensively, which they've been really good for the last couple of years. Back end, not much changed. In fact, one thing changed. They drafted Jalen Tyson out of Cal. Everything else stays exactly the same. Karis LeVert is a great depth player, but they pretty much just said, we're good. Let's keep it that way and put all of our chips on Donovan Mitchell. It's kind of the way that they've done it. And they have a brand new coaching staff. They fired what's his name after the end of the season. Can't remember his name right now, but Kenny Atkinson comes in for. He was the Warriors' assistant coach. He had been the Nets head coach for a couple of years. Brand new coaching staff here, so that's we'll see how that kind of integrates. So over to whoever's up. Is it Cody? I think. Yeah.
Already? Oh wow. Okay. Can you go back to the starting lineup for me real quick? Thanks. I don't know if I have a lot to say other than just Donovan Mitchell is just being Donovan Mitchell. He's just phenomenal. He's fantastic. And he proves it every day or every game. So, and I think who was it? I think it was I know I'm thinking of someone else. Never mind. Yeah, so I think he's just the unit, and it seems like they rely on everyone else as well, not just on Donovan. So it's a good team.
Yeah, the NBA is always a fast shifting landscape where teams are changing a lot faster than other sports for sure. And so I see this team as, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, expecting different results. And so they bring back the exact same lineup and just hoping that, it works this time. I don't think it's going to work quite as well as people hope. And so I don't see how we really improve on last year from here, which they had a great year, but we're not going to improve on.
Yeah. I think they're thinking, hey, Donovan got hurt, in the playoffs. Who knows what we could have been if he was healthy? I think that's kind of what they're looking like. But that's someone trying to soothe their worries about, hey, we just got our butts kicked by the Celtics. But you know what? If Donovan was healthy, you still would have got your butts kicked by the Celtics. So I'm kind of with you that not changing anything hurts this team more than helps at this point.
Yeah, I think we all basically agree that doing the same boring thing, expecting that to change and be somehow better, isn't going to work. This team is, in my opinion, if you look at it from a Moneyball standpoint, just the numbers, this team is mediocre with a guy who does okay leading them. 26-5-6. I mean, yeah, that's okay. That's pretty good, but it's nothing crazy like leader stuff. And so I don't see this team having much continued success until they give him a better supporting cast, because that's just going to wear down his tread sooner.
All right. Pistons, they won a total of 14 games last year. We're not good on anything. Obviously, when you lose 27 straight games in a season, you got to change some things. So what did they do? They brought back Tobias Harris, who was drafted by the Pistons and left and did some good things, and now he's back. So now, I mean, Cade Cunningham is a really, really good player. They have one really good player, and now they have four other guys that also play basketball. So, but obviously they made a lot of changes on the back end though too. Malik Beasley's a good player from the Bucks. Tim Hardaway Jr. That's a big addition from the Mavericks. Really good 6th man of the year candidate last year, and several draft picks as well. That's the guy that was fired by the Cavaliers last year. JB Bickerstaff, fired by the Cavs and takes the Pistons job. So brings over Luke Walton and Sidney Lowe, who have been head coaches previously in their careers as well. So Yancey, I think I actually skipped you, so I'm going to come back to you. You now lead. So
okay. I mean, this division is a fight for the bottom. It's like watching people drown. This is crazy. Cade Cunningham should get traded, so that way we can see that he's actually incredible instead of being stuck in this suck fest. Other than that, Tobias Harris's performance will go down, not up, because he's on a worse team than he was on before, with better big men to learn from. I don't see a lot to talk about. Get Flint water.
Cody.
I don't know if I have anything to add to this. I won't waste any more time. I don't know any of these people's names.
I'm pretty sure the Pistons sucked when Tobias Harris was there the first time. So I don't see how we're going to have an improvement here. I feel like they had like a big reveal, like going to pull the curtain off. Like, we went out and got ourselves a big star. And they pull back and like, it's Tobias Harris again. and so I don't think that we're going to have anything great. Hopefully they win more than 14, but I think it's going to be real tough to win more than 25.
When I see this lineup, I think of the Looney Tunes. Like you just have Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and others here just screwing around because they need to get some Monstars or something over here because it's a suck fest.
How does that feel for Tobias Harris? It's like they wanted to renew their vows because they got caught cheating, and they're like, "Come on, it's okay. We still love you, Tobias."
Oh boy. Okay, Indiana Pacers. They were excellent last year. They had a lot of firsts. They were the first in assists. They were first in field goal percentage. They were by far the fastest in pace. They just ran up and down the court. Really good offensive team, and ended up going all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, where they got swept by the Celtics. But who wouldn't last year? So, but anyway, they doubled down on their trade last year. Pascal Siakam got a huge deal. He's now one of the highest paid players in the NBA, and he gets to play alongside this really good team. Benedict Mathurin was hurt the whole playoffs, and so bringing him back to the starting lineup is important. Tyrese Halliburton was excellent. And that depth, this depth is where they excelled last year, having probably the best bench in the NBA, and now they're adding to it. Obi Toppin was there, Ben Shepherd, TJ McConnell were great. You bring Tristan Newton in from UConn, Johnny Furphy from Kansas, and James Wiseman you bring over from the Pistons. We've all talked about him being a complete bust, but can he do anything in the NBA for a team that's actually good? So we'll see. And Rick Carlisle now in his 8th season, his second stint with the Pacers. He was here before. We're over to you, Dustin.
Yeah, I like what you said about the best depth here in the NBA. Obi Toppin, Andrew Nembhard, James Wiseman, who's a little bit of a bust, but can still contribute here. I love TJ McConnell. Absolutely one of the most fun players to watch. TJ McConnell's the guy in high school. You'd make him do your homework, but then he'd take your girlfriend to prom. Like he's great. So I'm excited for the Pacers. Hope they do well and stay healthy. I'm interested in the evolution of Tyrese Halliburton to see where he goes from here, from the great season that he had. Where does it evolve?
Pacers ran into a brick wall called the Celtics last year, which you can't. You kind of have to say, yeah, they're a brick wall for everybody, but they have to figure out a way to play better defense. Defense was their downfall. They're an excellent offensive team, and they were pretty bad on defense. And so, what can they do? I'm not sure they've really addressed it the way that they needed to. I think they'll still be one of the funnest teams to watch in the entire NBA just because of how they play offense. But I struggle to see where they're going to fit defensively with the best teams in the league. Yancey. Oh, wait, no, you. Is that everybody? No.
I don't
Yancey,
think there is much I would add other than, can you go to the depth real quick?
Mhm.
Jarence Walker and Tristan Newton look like a before and after of crime. Like Walker never committed any crime, and then Newton is what happens after you've committed a bunch of crime. I don't know why, but I just see that.
All right. And Cody.
I just gotta commend you on the pun you made. I'm not sure if it was intentional or not intentional, but you said how the Pacers were the fastest on pace. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to what you said, Yancey, is that Johnny Furphy acts like he's the prosecutor for Tristan Newton.
That is pretty good.
Okay, last team. The Milwaukee Bucks, 49 wins last year. They won this division, and we kind of forget about them because they were hurt. These two guys, Giannis and Damian Lillard, were both hurt in the playoffs, and so this team just kind of they had a very quick exit in the playoffs. But now you bring them back, right? Giannis and Damian Lillard, hopefully healthy through the season, joining Chris Middleton. You bring over Gary Trent from the Raptors, who's an excellent 3-point shooter, trying to space that floor. Brooke Lopez still there, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every year. Torian Prince comes over from the Lakers. DeLon Wright comes over from the Heat, and a couple of draft picks as well. Bobby Portis is one of the best bench players. Pretty good team. Doc Rivers in his second season over there. Obviously, he took over almost 3/4 of the way through the season when what's his name was fired, finished out 17-19. And so we've all talked a lot of crap about Doc Rivers. That's probably not stopping. So over to me, I think. And so I mean, whenever you have Giannis and Damian Lillard on the same team, as long as they stay healthy, this team is going to be a playoff team. It's just what can they do once they get there with Doc Rivers, who chokes in the playoffs? Can these guys overcome the failures of their head coach is the question. And I'm not sure they quite can. Yancey?
I think I agree with you. I mean, Doc Rivers has killed more stars than Darth Vader, so I think it would be a problem continuing here than it will anywhere else. Uh, and I mean, when you hinge your team on 1 star or 2 stars and those guys get hurt and you see the real heart of the team was those guys, it's a problem when the rest of the team can't perform and it just kind of like, oh man, they're not here, we're not going to win. And so you just got to hope that they can wash that off them from last year and stay healthy and perform well. But I don't see that happening under Doc Rivers.
Cody?
I don't know if I have anything to add. That would be intelligible.
Okay. Dustin?
Few thoughts I've had. I feel like Damian Lillard is just looking for an honorable way to retire, and see if he can find it in Milwaukee with some late career success. So we'll see with that. Another thought. I love Brooke Lopez's evolution. 15 years ago, he was this beast in the post with the Nets and was doing fantastic there, and now here he is, one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Fantastic evolution. So that's real fun. Giannis, still young, still in his 20s, still has the potential to lead this team deep into the playoffs. But I'm not what to expect. This is either going to be the number 2 team or the number 7 team. I don't think there's anywhere they land anywhere like that.
Okay. Let's go pick this division here. Right here. Starting with Yancey.
Pacers, Cavs, Bucks, Bulls, Pistons.
Okay. Cody?
I think I'll go Pacers, Bucks, Cavs, Bulls, Pistons.
That didn't work. Come on over. Okay. Dustin?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Bucks, Pacers, Cavs. Bulls, Pistons.
Well, I'm definitely keeping these two the same. as we all have. I do think the Bucks win this division. Trying to see if there's anything I'm doing different than you, Dustin. Just for the hell of it. Yeah. So. Okay. We only have 6 minutes left, so I'm going to show you what I had set up here. Was picking the Western Conference playoffs, the 10 teams in the Western and Eastern, and then this is confusing, but this is how the play-in works. So the 7 and 8 seeds play. The winner becomes a 7th seed. The loser plays the winner of the 9 and 10 seed to see who becomes the 8th seed. That's the way the play-in works. And so we were going to pick that, and then each of us we're going to have some lines here to pick all the way through. We don't have time to do all of that, obviously, but we need to do this before tomorrow when the season starts. And so I'm going to send you guys some texts, and we're going to do all this offline. Is that okay with all of you guys?
Yeah.
So, okay. And we can do it all together, or I can text you all separately. I don't know, sometime tonight/tomorrow, things like that, to kind of pick that. We also didn't do a memory or have time for the part of the interruption questions today. Yancey had the memory, Dustin had the PTI. We will do all of that on Thursday. In addition to doing the World Series preview and checking in on a couple of the other sports that we all keep our eyes on. Any thoughts over the next 5 minutes?
Yep, I have one. I'm just seeing it now. Not sure if you guys have seen it, but Dolphins coach Michael Daniel says that Tua is coming off IR and could be playing on Sunday against the Cardinals. So that's a thought. We don't know if he would be with Tua or not, and I know some people feel the same with me. I just think he needs to be careful and just hang up the jersey at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. He comes off IR a Tuesday, plays on Sunday, goes back on IR next Monday. So probably the way that works. But yeah, I don't know. Anyone else? We have 4 minutes if anyone wants to say anything else, or we can just hang it up. Okay. I'll figure out how to talk to you guys offline. I don't know if you want me to do it all together where we all see everyone's predictions. That could also get a little messy, or I could check in with you one by one. But so we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Later,
see ya.
boys.